So, I will be talking a bit about a particular automata-based model for web services, and then I will talk about a few areas of research in web services. Okay, so here is the definition of concurrency which I got from Wikipedia. Please forgive me. And this is the classical this Dunning philosopher problem. Okay, I'm not going to solve this problem. So in concurrency we have concurrent computations. So computations are processes, threads, okay, so which may be executing on multiple cores in the same chip or different chip or physically separated processors, or it can be threads on the same processor. Okay, so as you may know, this concurrency first cropped up in operating systems, and it is ubiquitous in database management systems. Okay, so in operating system, the processes compute for access to CPU, and in database management systems, processes compute for access to data. And due to concurrency, there are a lot of consistency issues. So how do you solve this problem of concurrency? This locking system. Okay, so you lock the resource, then use the resource and release the resource. Okay. So in web services also, as we look at, there can be different ways of looking at it, but the same problem crops up. Okay, and this is again, please forgive me, this is again definition of web service which I have taken from Wikipedia. Okay, so web service is a software system designed to support interoperable machine-to-machine interaction over a network. It has an interface described in a machine processable format, which is called WSDL, and other systems interact with web services in a manner prescribed by its description using SOAP messages. I don't know what does it mean, but I understand this picture. Okay, so in web services you have two things basically. So one is here. So this is the thing. So this is the service. This is the service provider, and this is the service requester. These are the two things. What is going on behind the scene, WSDL, SOAP, or UDDI, whatever it is, it does not matter. Okay, we have a service provider. It's a program which is doing something, and here is a service requester which is trying to get some service from the service provider. This is it. There is nothing more in web services. So basically what is going on, it's a client-server system. So here is a server, and here is a client. Okay, so it's a classical client-server system. But there are other things, like this service provider may not be a standalone program. It may be a composition of many programs. Okay, so it may many web services may compose together to form one web service. That's a separate issue. But the whole thing you may compose it in one computation. Okay, so this is a classic case of client-server systems. So there are two things. So there are two components. One is the service provider, another is the service requester or consumer. So what I am trying to say is this. I am trying to say is that web service, so the service provider is a resource. Okay, and the client is a process which wants to access that resource. This is my thesis. So I am trying to say is this, like in operating system you have a CPU which many programs are trying to access. Similarly here It's a web service. So the service provider is a resource, and the clients are trying to access that resource. Okay, so this is my thesis. And my thesis, what I am trying to say is that I am trying to map that concurrency which is there in operating system in terms of access to resource here. So that's what I am trying to say. So I am trying to say that web services are inherently concurrent in that way. It's not entirely correct. It may not be entirely correct. There may be concurrency issues due to different other reasons. But here it is due to this way. If we see it as a client-server system, then the concurrency crops up in this way as a resource, contention for the resource. And the resource is the web service provider. Okay, several service consumers compute for the service offered by the service provider. Okay, so this problem can again be solved by using a different kind of locks. And I'm trying to say that this is lock system. This is a locking system which I call it a session paradigm. So establish a session with the web service provider, and that way you lock the service provider, and then you work with the web service provider during the session, and then you terminate the session. So this is a lock use, the same paradigm of lock use resource. I am calling it as session paradigm, which I can do, isn't it? So this is the classic client-server paradigm, and the client-server paradigm using having sessions is solving the problem of resource contention in this way. Okay, so we talk about client-server system, and in this, so I jump to client. So instead of talking about web services, I talk about client-server system. Okay, so this is where I have a single server and multiple clients. So how many clients? So we say that large number of clients, unknown number of clients, unbounded number of clients, which basically comes up all the time. For example, if you are trying to book a ticket on a railway using ICRTC, so there is a web service. There is a web service for maybe train number 2016. So unbounded number of customers are trying to book the ticket on it. We don't know beforehand how many people are trying to book a ticket on 2016. So we don't know how many clients are there. We know that there is a web server for 2016, but how many clients are there for that thing, we don't know. So we have unbounded number of clients and a single server. Okay. So clients send request for the service and the server responds. So we differentiate between two types of client-server systems, discrete and session oriented. This is again, this is not our jargon. This is a standard jargon in the web service community. We call it passive clients and active clients. Okay, why we differentiate between the two? Because actually these two are different, and we will come to know how these two are different. So this is one example of loan approval service. Please forgive me for the figure. It's not, I downloaded it from somewhere. Okay, so this is the loan approval service, and there is a loan officer as server, and there is a borrower as client. So what is going on is that there are many people trying to borrow from a bank. Okay, so they go to, so this service is going on online. Okay, you don't need to go to the bank for the loan. So you log on to a loan of, so via browser you open a client service, and you connect to a loan officer, which is a web service, and you try to get a loan. Okay, these things are there in, these things are not available here, but they are going on. So there are, even if you go, so if you try to find, there will be a lot of information of loan approval service on the net. Okay, so so the client gives a request, and the server either says yes or no, nothing else. This is another kind of client-server system. This is why we are differentiating between the two. Actually, so we say that this thing is a passive client system because the client simply sends a request and waits for an answer from the server. And here this is an active system in which this thing is a server. So that this is a travel agent web service. This is a server, and these things are actually the clients. Okay, so there are and the clients are interacting with the travel agent, and there are multiple interactions between the two. Okay, in the case of passive client, there is only one interaction. So a request is sent and yes or no comes. Here there are multiple interactions between clients and server. So that's the way these three things are different. Okay, so here is a model for passive client services. Okay, this is a automata based model. So actually what is going on here, it may look a bit intimidating, but what is going on here is that there are different types of clients. So this gamma 0 contains the types of clients. So that depends on service actually. So if suppose in the case of loan approval service, so I say if there are maybe I will allow a request for maybe 5,000, 10,000 and 15,000 and not more. And these are the only three possible requests. So for each slab, I have a different client type. That is what is going on. So if I want a 5,000 loan of 5,000, I actually log on as a client of type 5,000. Okay. So with different slabs, we have different types of client. Okay. And so what is going on? This the server, what it does is that when it gets a request from a client, it simply it remembers that how many requests I have got for 5,000, how many requests I have got for 10,000, how many requests I have got for 15,000, and so on. It just actually counts the number of requests for each client types. Okay, and depending on the cache it has on hand and the number of clients, it says yes or no. Okay, that's what is going on. So and this so it's a finite state system, but because it is counting the number of states, the real number of states, because it's a counting is going on, the number of how do I say it? Because there is a counting going on, the state space becomes infinite because there is a counting going on, and that is actually so if you see the run a definition of a configuration. Okay. So at any point of time, there are the system remembers three things. So the local state and the clients which are actually active, which are alive, which are basically you can say that they are pending in a way. And we can define initial configuration, we can define final configuration, and there is a configuration graph which comes from the transition relation. Okay, and if you this configuration graph is due to the C, because the C can be large, this configuration graph is infinite, is a graph which has infinite number of nodes, potentially infinite number of nodes. Okay, so don't worry, it seems a bit intimidating, but it is very simple. So we can talk about reachability in this graph. So when you have the input as this system, is there a path in this graph in which the initial configuration is this So you give two configuration and say that this is the initial configuration, this is the final configuration. Okay, so there should be a S dash, C dash, and gamma dash, chi dash, sorry. So is there a path in this graph from this configuration to this configuration? So actually, so in all its in generality, this system, this reachability is undecidable. But we will see later, we won't see, but we will simply state that actually this system can be encoded into multi-counter automata actually, because there is only counting going on. So because we can encode this system into a multi-counter automata where no zero test is going on. So and reachability is decidable in multi-counter automata. So reachability becomes decidable here. So we can do a lot. So this system, in a way, you can say that this system becomes manageable. So we can say we can verify this system. If I am defining web services using this system, then I can verify a lot of properties of this system. Okay. So this is one very simple example of SPS, in which this the system actually admits a client request. Okay, so in its initial state, it admits a client request and nothing else. It does nothing else. So you see, it starts from this state, and so this configuration, it admits one, and it remembers the type of the request, and just so here one is admitted, then two is admitted, three is admitted, and so on. Okay, so the number and the configuration, so this path can be infinitely large path. There can be infinite number of configurations here. Okay. So this is a system with one pending request. Okay. So here you admit one request and then you answer. So at any point of time there is only one pending request. So this the model can be extended to a model for active client systems. And here in this case, what is going on is that every client system, so for every client type, I have a small finite state machine. So I have a small finite state machine for every client type. So the client does many things. It not only sends a request and receives an answer, but it can do many other things. Okay, so this thing can also be, I will skip these things. So this can also be encoded into multi-counter automata, larger number of multi-counter automata, and here also some kind of counting is going on. So and here in general the reachability will be undecidable, but because we can encode it into multi-counter automata, the reachability becomes decidable, and the same kind of, so we can verify these things. We can define properties of such web services and verify those properties.
One question, can you interpret one configuration here like SC, chi and pi? And what do you mean by this configuration, and what do you mean by the reachability problem, that we have a path from here, this configuration to this configuration?
Okay.
If we are in S, then we are in some state S, so and C represent how many clients we have, and then chi is what type of chi is.
So you start with initial configuration. So this is the initial state of this, and you have no client pending in the system, and so there is no information about the client in your system. Okay, so you admit the. So actually, so I should not be having all these things. So suppose you have you allow two type of clients. Okay, so for every client you define the client alphabet. Okay, and there is a small the small finite state transition system, which is there is a finite state transition system defined for each client. So this delta U is over okay. So this theta U is what do you say, local activity alphabet for U. Okay, and theta V is the local activity alphabet for the client type V. Okay. Now, so suppose what happens? So a client of and the whole transition system, the complete transition system, so which manages all the clients. Okay, so that thing is defined over some gamma. Okay, now this gamma contains three things. This okay, so this gamma contains three things. So what do you say, it contains of triples where this the activity executed by the client and which client, okay, and whether it is a new client or whether it's an old client. Okay, if it is a new client, then I will admit it to the system, so I will increase my C. If it is an old client, then I will look in my C and whether there is an X which X maps to something in the C, and I will what do you say, update my C. So I will update using chi. Okay, so suppose this what do you say, some request U comes. Okay, it's not exactly request U, so I will go to some state, add 1, okay, and when the client moves sends a request, so it moves from some state to some state. So I will add some Q dash. Okay, so sorry, here is a 1. and this pi contains information about the local variables, so the variables, the binding of the variables, okay, which is not actually much, okay. So, and sorry, this is x1, okay, and if it is suppose 0, then there is nothing there, so I will get stuck, okay. And then suppose I do some theta x0, then I will go to some s2, and 1 will go to some q double dash, okay. So essentially what is going on is that for each client state I have a counter, okay. So I don't remember actually, so I don't remember which client is in which state. I remember only how many clients are there in this state, okay. So there are all possible client states, so I take all possible client states. For each client state I have a counter, okay. So I just count how many clients are there in this state, and if there is a transition going on, so then I will decrease one counter and increase one counter, okay. That's what it is going on, and I don't worry about, so there are variables floating around, but those variables are not bound to some particular, what you say, client name. They may change, it does not matter, okay. That is just for defining things, okay. So if there is a client transition from some q to q dash, I don't worry whether it is in 23 or 24 or 25 or 42, okay. So there is one client goes from this state to this state, just that's what I remember, okay. So it's very important that the client transition systems are defined beforehand, because accordingly how many clients, how many states are there in the client transition system, I will construct a counter, okay. So the most important thing is that this is a class, this class of system is actually it's equivalent to multi-counter automata, which is multi-counter automata is also called VASS, vector addition systems with states, which is equivalent to Petri nets, okay. So it's, what do you say, we can encode these things directly into Petri nets, okay. So now we come to a different problem. It's called web service composition problem. It's a very, what do you say, it's a it has been a, what do you say, hot area of research in web services for a long time, okay. So as if you remember that picture, so we have a service provider and service requester, and there are a lot of things that doesn't, so the client, so the service requester or client sends some request to the service provider, and it may be possible that the client request cannot be satisfied by any single web services, but there are many actually. Okay. Okay, so but the request can be satisfied by combining the parts of this all these web services. So so in fact, this is a better. So I have an example with me. Okay. So there are these 4 web services. One is for booking airline tickets. One is for booking accommodation in hotel. One is for booking train tickets, and one for registering in an event. Okay, so these are simple web services which do simple things. Okay, now so what a client wants to do is to book a ticket and book a room in a hotel and register for the event. He wants to do 3 things. It does not matter for him whether the ticket is booked through airline, whether it's an airline ticket or a train ticket. It does not matter. But first, any mode of transport is okay for him. So a ticket is booked, then a limousine is booked, and the hotel room is booked, and so on. So everything, but they have to be done in a particular way. So this is the way. So he wants it to be done in this way. So this is the service he wants. Okay. But these web services individually don't provide the whole service. But you can compose these web services and you can get this web service. Okay. So here you have, these 4 finite state machines, 4 finite automata. Okay. You see, here this is a shuttle. So shuttle is also booked. But here no shuttle is booked. So you are discounting some part of the automata, some some activity you take and some activity you omit. Okay, so what is going on? So you have these 4 finite state machines, and you want to bring together these four finite state machine, and you compose one finite state transition machine. Okay, parts of it. Okay. And what you want to do is to define another finite state machine which orchestrates the original machines to give you this machine. Okay. So this is a classical problem which is called reactive synthesis problem. It's again a very old problem called, so it's a variant of reactive synthesis problem. Okay, actually this is not the reactive synthesis problem. In reactive synthesis problem, what you are given is that you are given a LTL formula or CTL, some specification in some logical language, phi, and you construct a finite state machine called D such that the language of D satisfies phi. Okay, but this is a variant. This is a variant of that problem, in which you don't need to construct an automata anew. You already have some 4 or 5 automata, and you somehow control those things. Take some operations from here, some operation from here, some operation from here, combine them together, and you construct a desired machine. Okay, so basically you construct some controller. Here it is called orchestrator, and which controls the environment and executes the machines in CW such that the ultimate behavior is according to T. Okay, and many people have solved this problem in different ways, and one is called Roman model. Okay, so it's many people in this model, each service in the community of web services is defined as a non-deterministic finite state machine. Okay, and the target service is also defined as a finite state machine, and they define a orchestrator, which is again a finite state machine, which orchestrates the CW according to T. Other people have done it in different ways. Some people have used the PetriNet model, okay, and some people have used some other way of doing it. And they have extended this model by adding data to it, and they call it Colombo model. Okay, so with data the thing becomes more complicated. Okay, and this is a very hot area of research. Okay, so now we come to another area of research which is called web service choreography. Okay, so here it's actually the same problem, you look it at a different way. So instead of seeing it actually by giving a different example, what I can do is that you look at the same thing. So here this is the target web service. So it can be a complicated web set of behavior. What you can do is, so they call it choreography. Okay, in the web service choreography community they call it a choreography. So choreography is the the desired specification, the target specification which you want. Okay, now given this target specification, can you come up with these things? So here in this composition thing, I have given you the the basic building block, and you come up with the target. In the web service choreography thing, it's the other way around. So I have given you the target and you come up with the basic building blocks. So that's looking at the problem in just the opposite way. That's what is going on in web service choreography. So this web service choreography community does the same thing, composition, in a reverse way. Okay. So here so different people do web service solve the problem in different way. So some people use it this automata based choreography model business. So the choreography is so there what we said, we were calling it choreography, community of choreography web services, and we go from community of web services to target web service. Okay, so this community calls this thing service implementation, and this they call it choreography. Okay, so they are going from this so essentially they are going from SI to C. Okay. So why? Okay. So the choreography is represented as a finite state machine. The service implementations are also represented as finite state machine. Okay. But the point is, okay, so there are two problems. So apart from so this problem is called realizability problem, where you've given a choreography, you have to come up with implementation. This is called realizability problem. Okay, and there is another problem which is called conformance problem, in which you are given a choreography, you are given a service implementation, and you say that you want to ask whether the language of the service implementation is the same as the language of C. Okay, so the input is both C and I. In one case the input is C and you have to come up with I, and in this case you have the input is C as well as I, and you want to check whether the language of I is same as language of I. Okay. Okay, so now we come to web services with data. Okay, so this is let us go back to this loan approval service problem. Okay, the web service. So what is going, so this the applicant it wants to get a loan. Okay, so the applicant, he or she sends an application to the loan officer, and what loan officer, the thing is that here the loan officer has a database along with him. So the database contains the information about all the people who have applied to him, who have account, a bank account in that bank, and those people who have asked in their their identity information and all those things. Okay. And there is an independent credit agency which gives credit ratings. Okay. So whenever this loan officer gets an application for a loan, it sends a message to credit agency with the information about the applicant and wants credit rating. Okay. So the credit agency, looking at its own, so the credit agency also has a database about a lot of people with him. Okay, it will send some rating. So it may be high rating, low rating, middle rating, and all those things. Okay, so the loan officer does not give approve loan arbitrarily. If the applicant has excellent credit rating, then it will accept straight away. If the credit rating is poor, then it will reject straight away. If there is something in the middle, what it will do is that it will get the credit history from the credit agency, send it to the loan manager, and then loan manager will decide. So essentially there is again some choreography going on, but there is data. Okay, so this credit agency has a large database. The loan officer also has a large database. Okay, and if you want to model this thing as a state machine, as an automata, okay, then this thing is actually, because of data, this thing is infinite. Okay, so what do you do with it? So if you want to say that, okay, we will write a web service. Okay, so it's a web service for loan officer, web service for credit agency, web service for loan manager. Okay, and this thing is done, is automatically. Okay, and I want to make sure that the application for a loan is processed correctly. Means people with excellent rating get loan straight away. People with poor rating get rejected straight away. So how do you make sure that this thing is correct? So this web service, if you have these web service and they compose together, they work together and process the application correctly, you have to verify it somehow. So how do you verify it when you have database, large data along with you? Okay, so this is it's a difficult problem. It's a difficult problem to address, difficult problem to solve. Okay, but there is a community who are trying to come up with subclasses of problem. So clearly you can't put a bound on data, because then this thing becomes there is no point having a bound on data. It becomes immaterial. The whole problem becomes laughable, in fact. So how do you verify these things? So one way to verify this thing is that even though the underlying system is infinite state, you come up with properties which are decidable, properties which you check efficiently. That is possible. If you can, there are logics. So you can define logics which you encode appropriate properties which are good enough. You can't, of course, you can't check everything. but you can come up with those properties, and those properties are good enough actually. Those like those specification languages, they are good enough to solve a lot of problems. Okay. So this is one. So here what they have done is that they make sure in this particular case what is going on, that each web service has a database, and that database remains fixed throughout the series of interaction, and whatever the changing part of the database is modeled as state. And so if one application comes and it is processed from the beginning to end, that will be one computation of the composite web service. Okay, in which the database at each point remains the same, but whatever the changes are going on there in the state. Okay, and you define a specification in such a way that you see, like for example, if you have something like if you understand a bit of logic, then what is going on? So if at each point, if you have the properties which you want to check, you can break it down into two. So there are some properties which can be checked locally, and there are some temporal properties. Okay, so if you can somehow break it into two cleanly, that the local properties are completely isolated from the temporal properties, then the whole verification problem becomes decidable. Okay, so this way they solve this problem. So this composite loan approval web service should operate according to some bank policy, and this is the bank policy, that the loan officer can make independent decision for some cases, and for all other things it will ask the loan manager. So, and this thing can be actually encoded into decidable specification languages, and then that can be checked. Okay, so now we come to another area of research, which is entirely different from what we have been talking about till now. Okay, this has something to do with type systems, so which appeals to Robin Milner, and Robin Milner said that well-typed programs can never go wrong. So what does this mean? This means that if you write your programs in a programming language which is well-typed means, like for example in C, you give a type to every data. Okay, so if I somehow write a program and I can give a type to every component of the program, and inductively I can, so I start from some small variable, I give it a type, and I will go to larger components of program, and each component I give a type, and ultimately the whole program I give a type. If I am able to give it a type successfully, this is called typability problem. So if I am able to do this successfully, then the program, we call it well-typed. C is not well-typed actually. So then Milner says that if the program is well-typed, if the language is well-typed, then whatever program you write, okay, that program will never get stuck. So whatever you want to do in that program, that thing will be done successfully. Okay, for example, here is a programming language. It's a lambda calculus. It's a programming language. Okay, in fact, lambda calculus is equivalent to Turing machine, but it models actually sequential computations. So this is a lambda calculus which has type. So it's a typed lambda calculus. So if you look at it, so you have in C and basic we usually have types like int, character, and all those things. But you see here we have something called function types. So means you can have complicated constructs in your programming language, and you can give types to each. So you can give a type to your functions also. So you can give type to programs also. So so for each, so if you have a program, if you define a programming language along with a type system and a machinery to give types to each objects in your programming language. So you have, for example, for for your typed lambda calculus, you give a type rules. Okay, and then if you write a program in typed lambda calculus, then it is well typed and it will work correctly. So what we are trying to say is that if you have web services, okay, and web services are working to some according to some choreography. So if I can give a type to say a function in your, if I have a programming language which writes some functions, integer and all those things. If I can give types to integers and all those things, why not I can give a type to interactions, message passing. There is a communication going on. I can give type that communication. Now there can be a series of communication which has some patterns that for example, this applicant, this consumer sends a loan application and the loan officer does something, sends something to the credit agency, then credit agency sends something back to loan officer, then loan officer sends something to loan manager and so on. See, this whole series of communication can be given some type. Okay, so so why can't we write a programming language in which I can write such web services? Okay, which can type interactions, which can type large bits of message passing going on between two or more web services. So people have given us a set of programming languages. So they call it a global calculus. Okay, and a type system along with that global calculus. And they have they have given typability algorithms, decidable typability algorithms and decidable type checking algorithms for such systems, and in which the interactions between different web services are typed as something called session types. Okay, so each set of interaction is given something called a complicated type, which is called session type. Okay, so if you write your web services, if you design your web services in terms of these global calculus, okay, and then so the choreography of these web services can be encoded into this global calculus, and you can check whether this thing is working properly or not. Okay, if it is well typed, then your your choreography is correct. And from that choreography, they have solved this realizability problem also. So if you write a choreography in this global calculus, from that you can using some kind of a projection scheme, you can come up with programming constructs in something called endpoint calculus, and those those component formulas or terms in endpoint calculus will give you the individual behavior of each web service. Okay, and this is something this is a work which has been done in consultation with this Web3. So it's a World Wide Web community. So if you go to www.w3c.com, so there is a whole lot of, they have done whole lot of standardization scheme, they have done a lot of work in coming up with standards for defining web services, which is called, there is a standard called WSDL. So that is for how do you define web services. Then they have defined something called, they have come up with a standard called WSCDL. So how do you define a standard for defining choreographies? Okay, so So this work is very important in the sense because this work has been done along with the people people from implementation community, people who write programs. They have come together with the people from the concurrency community and people like Milner, etc. They have defined this global calculus, the endpoint calculus, and type system along with it. And this is one of the most, you can say that one of the most successful project which is some kind of joint work between theoretical community and the practical people doing practical writing code and writing standards and all those things. So this is one of the most celebrated work in the area of web services and verification of web services. So to conclude, so we gave actually 2 automata models for web services, and then we discussed a few areas of research in web services. And first one was web service composition, and the converse of web services composition called web service choreography. And then we discussed verification of web services with data, and last we discussed verification of web services using type systems. Okay. Thank you. Yes. That's what, no. You see, this is CW. So this is the community of web services. There are 4 web services in this community. And this is my target web service. This is not there in here. Because you see, there is you are booking plane ticket and booking as well as booking hotel ticket. There is nothing called, this plane is here. So some other web service is booking plane ticket and some other web service is booking hotel room. So 2 web services are doing 2 different things, but you want to join together and come up with a web service which does everything. Okay.